Good evening. Welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include
And it gives me a lot of pleasure to be here in Birch.
Please stay tuned. Also, the public service announcements that are going to be aired during tonight's program were done by the grade 6 classes of last year and the preceding year for Hydro Safety Week.
Imagine a recreational trail shared by all Canadians, winding its way through every province and territory. The Trans-Canada Trail, to be the world's longest trail. You can make this happen. Each donation you give makes a meter of trail. And in recognition, your name or the names of your family and friends will be permanently imprinted on trail markers. Join the thousands of Canadians and the companies who care. Share the vision. Be part of the Trans-Canada Trail. Call now and put your name on it.
The kindergarten class of A.J. Matthews School held their graduation on Monday night, and BBS was there to cover it.
Each of us will do our best to entertain all of you. Welcome, everybody.
And I'm sure that you're going to do really well in the years ahead. And parents, thank you all for your support throughout the year.
We took our camera to Big Barrisway last Saturday to film the soft shell clam harvesting that's being carried out there.
Well, this little sack here, you take off. Oh, yeah. Right here, take that off, cut his snout off. That's all big.
If you were everything you
eat everything around here except this snout and the little sack in the back.
work this on a daily basis, pretty much.
Hello, my name is Bruce Warren. My safety message for Newfoundland Labrador is always unplug electrical appliances by grasping the plug rather than pulling the cord. At Newfoundland Labrador, safety is a way of life.
Hello, my name is Jody Sims. Newfoundland Labrador reminds us to develop good electrical safety habits for our families. Never overload electrical circuits by adding extra plugins to outlets. Unplug those bad habits. We have the power to live longer and we just think safety first.
Hello, my name is Pam Rose. Newfoundland Labrador Hydro reminds us that ladders, CB, and TV antennas must be located so they don't touch or fall into power lines. Remember, safety is everybody's responsibility.
Our MHA David Gilbert was in town last week. During his visit, he made a special presentation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure for me to be here tonight in Burgeo because I have to make a presentation to some ladies who went out and represented your town a couple of weeks ago, and they won the C division of the Provincial Ladies Darts League. So I have here with me now Irene Vatcher, the captain of that team, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what happened, and then we'll ask Irene to introduce the team, and I'll present them with a picture of the team that I had taken while they were there. Irene?
Okay. We started out by hosting C Division here, and the girls won. Then we travelled to Cornerbrook, where we played in the Western, and they also won there. And then we ended up going to Gander, where we played provincials. All three divisions were played at the same time, but the girls played in C. They played excellent, and they won. Basically.
No doubt about it.
Like there were teams from all over, from Labrador to St. John's to, well, Central, Eastern, Southern, all divisions were.
So when you had to play your way out of Burgeo and you had to win and then go into the Western there, and then you won the Western and then the Gander and then to the provincials.
Step by step.
Well, that's good, and I must say you did a great job, you know. It's not very often that you see a team from Burgeo winning an all Newfoundland championship, no matter what it is, so I think you're something you should be very proud. And it was with that in mind that I had those pictures taken so that you'll have something, a little momentum to remember that you did win this, and by presenting them here on TV in Burgeo tonight, you know, maybe there's some people in the town that didn't know that they have a bunch of provincial champions here, so we'll get a chance now for them all to have a look at you on Sunday night when you're getting your laurels again for a job well done. So what I'm going to do now, Irene, is I'll give you this mic, and then I'll ask you to call out the names of your team, and then I'll present each of them with their picture as they come forward, and then we'll all gather around and we'll get one group picture after everybody has received this picture, and then everybody will be able to see them all together on TV to see what a fine team they are.
Okay, first is Rose Coley.
Congratulations, Rose.
Thank you very much.
Take one of those pictures.
Okay.
All right, you stand right here now next to Irene.
Okay, Rose Courtney.
There's no more roses on the team. Congratulations, Rose.
Thank you.
Gloria Rhymes.
Gloria, I've seen you before. How are you?
Thank you.
Thelma Walsh.
Congratulations, Selma.
Thank you.
Sylv Kasser.
Congratulations, Sylvia.
Thank you.
And Harriet Warren.
Harriet, how are you? Are you enjoying this?
And Jackie Burns, but she's not here tonight.
Well, if Jackie Burns is not here, we'll leave Jackie Burns' picture with you so that you'll be able to present it to her. And again, congratulations to Jackie for me, and again, congratulations to you, Irene. And I hope that next year we're here presenting.
I'd like to present those couple of gifts that we got here for Thelma, who helped us a lot in Burgeo, and a gift for Irene, who helped us in Cornerbrook and Gander. Without them, we wouldn't have got where we got, for sure. So if I could have Thelma come up and present this gift to her.
Do you want me to take those for you?
Okay, sure.
And you'll be able to shake hands with
Okay.
Selma. And
Thank you very much. Okay, this is for Irene. One for Cornerbrook and one for Gander. Thank you very much.
Maureen, you must have done a great job as captain and coach.
Yes.
I couldn't have had a better team to work with.
I'm telling you right now, you did a great job. You won, and that's when that makes it so great that when you win.
We did.
So congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Great job, ladies. The grade 6 students also held their graduation this past.
Good evening, Mrs. Fenwell, teachers, and fellow students. Denise and I are very proud to represent the grade 6 class this year to tell about the memories we've experienced and the many years we've attended MHA Matthews Elementary. We are happy to move on in our life, but there is still part in some, but not all of us, that want to stay in this wonderful school.
We've learned a lot, had many good times, and maybe a few bad. We've had fun in this school, and we're going to miss it. While the memories are still fresh in our minds, John and I would love to share some with you.
Kindergarten was our first grade in the school. We've met a lot of fun people and had a good teacher. So good, in fact, that the day we went to meet her, Michael was so impressed he didn't want to leave. He wanted to stay and help. He was kind of worried for a while. She thought that she was still a mom. Mrs. Thatcher seemed to have a lot of fans that year. She was so popular that on a certain time each day, I think it was just before recess, everyone would go up like a mob and hug her. By the way, how many of you hugged your teachers today?
Stay tuned for more of This Week in Review coming up in just a moment.
Hi, my name is Daniel Ingram, and I attend MHA Matthews Elementary School. My safety message from Newfoundland and Labrador Radio is, never ever touch electrical wires, either in the air or on the ground. Even broken power lines on the ground may be full of electricity. Have someone call Newfoundland Hydro right away if you discover a fallen power line. Remember, electrical wires are current killers.
Hello, my name is Gia Parsons, and I attend A.J. Matthews Elementary School. My safety message from Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro is, never fly kites or model airplanes near power lines. Strings or control wires may be electrical conductors. Any contact with power lines can be fatal. Avoid the hazards and have a safe summer.
Hi, my name is Larry Lockhart, and I attend A.J. Matthews Elementary School. Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro wants to remind us that electricity and water is a very dangerous combination. Never touch switches, plugs, or anything that runs on electricity. Or if your hands are wet, or if you're standing on a wet floor, don't let safety go in shot view.
Friday was the last day of this school year. Students had to report to school Friday afternoon to get their report cards. We went to the elementary school on Friday afternoon, and we took a peek at some of the awards being presented in Miss Linda Thatcher's class.
I had two boys in here who had 100% attendance. One is for Jeffrey and one is for Paul. Congratulations, Paul. When it came to doing the math marks, it was pretty hard to decide. I went through all the marks and averaged them up, and there was 3 kids in there who tied in math. One was Carrie Randall, one was Max Milburn, and one was Brock.
In addition to the awards, the students also received their diplomas and report cards.
Here, congratulations, Brock. I'm real proud of you. Santana? Kelly?
all year working so hard. Now, I hope you all have a nice summer and be safe. For goodness sake, wear your helmets, and when you go swimming, make sure you're with a partner and never swim alone. Okay? Have a nice summer, everybody.
You too, Mrs. Something.
Bye.
Bye.
Hold it! Hi, my name is Misty Piercy. Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro reminds us, always keep safety first in mind. If you're looking for a tree to climb, never climb trees near power lines. Respect electricity and have a safe summer. Hey, stop! Hello, my name is Kylie Dufford. Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro reminds us never to touch plugged-in appliances when you're in the bathtub or working on a sink or basin. Water and electricity is a very dangerous combination. Think, don't let safety come as a shock to you.
Over here. Hey, wait! Hello, my name is Jonathan Benight. My safety measures for Newfoundland Labrador Hydro is always obey the danger, high voltage signs. Never climb hydro towers or substation fences. Treat electricity with respect and avoid the shock of a lifetime.
Coming up now, we have the interview portion of tonight's program. Our guest today is Dave Gilbert. He's the MHA for Burgeo Bay Despair. Welcome to our studio once again, Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you, David. Nice to be back, and it's nice to have you back.
What is the nature of your visit to Burgeo today?
Well, just a normal visit that an MHA makes to the district, you know, to see what's going on and, you know, to touch base with the people who elected me. And even though there's another 3 or 4 years before an election, you still have to come and see what the concerns are of your constituents. So I do it on a regular basis. Now, I haven't been here. The last time I guess I was here was around the 15th of April because the House of Assembly has been open. It just closed last week. So when the House is open, I get to the Bay Despair end sometimes during weekends, but it's a bit far to come to Burgeo just to get out Friday evening and get back in again for Sunday evening. So I have to wait till the House is closed to get here, but I'm here.
Okay, there's been a great deal of concern lately as to what plants will open when the cod stocks rebuild. Where does Burgeo stand in this situation?
David, I wish I had a crystal ball. I haven't. What has happened, as you know, the provincial government has said that they really don't want to be put in the position of playing God in this, and have said, look, you know, they're prepared to open plants anywhere where it's economically viable to open it, and that the operators have the intention of opening the plant. Now, I understand that Mr. Tobin has announced that there will be a committee set up to go around the province to look at the viability of all the fish plants in all the areas and to see what's going to happen in the long run. But you know, I don't think the government hasn't made any decisions yet as to, you know, who they're going to lay hands on, who's going to be the plant, or where the plant is going to be open and where the one is not going to be open. A lot would depend. I would suggest to you that the provincial government is in the process right now of dividing the province up into 17 economic zones, and, you know, they will more or less have the destiny of that zone will be controlled from within the zone. And I would say a lot of dependence will be put on the recommendations that's made by the people that comprise these 17 economic zones, and they will be whichever zone that Burgeo is in. No doubt Burgeo will be represented in that, as will the other areas. But if you look at it from just at a glance, the way that I look at it, when you see that in this economic zone that Burgeo is going to be included in, that Burgeo is going to be one of the bigger towns, I would say, that's here. So it would seem to me that they would have to look very closely at the fish plant operation here in Burgeo. And again, you know, as I started off, it boils down to the fact what does Mr. Barry intend to do with the fish plant in Burgeo? Because the government have said from the time that this fish, when the moratorium was put on the fishery, that, you know, the plants that were going to operate it would be contingent on having an operator who could economically operate it.
Okay, there were meetings held with Mr. Tobin, I believe, this past week in Marystown. Burgeo's gotten a lot of publicity out of these meetings. Do you think that this will work in our favor?
Well, certainly it will, and I was very, very happy to see that these meetings were held this week because, you know, for Burgeo to operate and have a fish plant, there's got to be an offshore fishery. And I think the focus of these meetings in Marystown was to try and destroy some of the myths that had been put out about the offshore fishery and the damage that it had done to the fishing stocks and stuff like that. And, you know, with all due respect to the inshore fishery, I feel that the offshore fishery there hasn't been enough attention paid to it since the fishery has been closed down. We hear the environmentalists talking about the damage that they done to the seabed and stuff like that. But yet, it seems awfully strange to me when I look at the fishing in England and the trawler technology that's been used in the North Sea of England, you know, long before there was trawlers on the Grand Banks, and yet there's still an offshore and a trawler fishery in the North Sea, and I'm sure that a rebuilt fishery will, you know, there's got to be an offshore segment to it. And I think that from what I understand, now I was invited to that meeting, but I was coming here, so I couldn't get there to that. But from what I understand is that they did reconfirm, yes, indeed, the offshore has a place in a fishery of the future. And to my mind, if the offshore is going to be have a place in the fishery of the future, Burgeo certainly should be considered because it was always an offshore plant.
Okay, another issue that there have been meetings on lately is coastal boat service off the South Coast. Were you present at these meetings?
Oh yes, I've been present at those meetings for some years now. And what, again, we're looking at with the South Coast service is that right now, I think it costs somewhere in the vicinity of about $12 million to provide this service on the South Coast. So, of course, as you realize, I mean, governments have to look at the possibility now where they can best save the money, but they want to ensure that the people that are serviced by this service get a reasonable service and to give them connection to a road on a daily basis. And we're talking about the people, you know, more in Francois and McCallum and Grey River, I suppose, to a certain extent, and Grand Brett and La Pile. Now, first of all, we've had the bureaucrats have been working for 2 or 3 years now, drafting up, you know, plans A, B, and C. That we could do it this way, could do it that way. And as I say, there's 2 things in mind. One, hopefully to provide better service, and 2, to provide it at less cost to the taxpayers, because when I say that it's costing $9 or $10 million a year, or whatever it is, it's coming out of all our pockets. You know, the taxpayers are paying for this service. Now, we had a meeting last Tuesday night in Hermitage, and there was representatives there from Burgeo, Ramia, Grey River, Francois, McCallum, Galtas, and Hermitage, and they were the ones that would be, and there was one from La Pile, there was no one from Grand Brett. And they discussed, the government outlined 2 or 3 plans that they have, you know, as to possible services that they could put in. The people, you know, were given a chance to speak and have some input, and the plan was received with some degree of skepticism, if I might add, by the people that are going to be the end users. So it was agreed, the minister was there and his officials, and it was agreed that he and I and Oliver Langdon and Bill Ramsey, the MHAs that represent the South Coast, would have a meeting in St. John's next Friday morning, at which time we would take into account what the people had said and see if we could improve on the plans that had been submitted and put it in place. Bearing in mind that we still have to try and save money, and the plans that we're looking at, if the dollar figures that we hear are that the officials are quoting, we could save as much as maybe $4 million by a different service but one that would provide better service to the coastal communities.
During the Recreation Commission's telethon, the Mayor informed us that there will be funding put in place for an arena for Burgeo within the next three years. Can you elaborate on this?
Well, I'm hoping that what the Mayor said is right. I talked to the Mayor and I told him, listen, the fact that we didn't get any money this year under that employment enhancement program, we have to look at it and try to get the Burgeo application on the forefront. Now, the one thing, as you know, the problem with the Burgeo application is that the provincial government has a plan whereby, in order to come under the 80-20 funding, in other words, 80% provincial, 20% from the town or the area, it's got to be considered as a regional recreation center. Now, the fact that Burgeo is at the end of a 144-kilometer road, there's no other communities around it, it's hard to get the bureaucrats in the provincial government to agree that this has to be considered as a special case. So what I said to the Mayor is, look, first of all, we've got to try and convince the government that we've got to look at Burgeo as a special case and got to consider it somehow under the regional plan rather than as a town. Because if this thing had been approved this year, the Burgeo Recreation Commission and the Town Council had applied for about a little over $1.2 million. And the only way it could have been applied was that the people of Burgeo would have had to be responsible for over $400,000 of it. Now, I don't think that's fair, because I think it's got to be looked at a little different way. So if we can, and what I told the Mayor is that I hope that we can arrange over the next couple of years to get government, first of all, to change its mind as to change the policy as to, the consideration for funding. Because I don't think there'd be any good to, even if it had been approved this year, and the town of Burgeo was responsible for 1/3 of it, I don't think they would have been able to handle the finances of it myself, with all the, and with all due respect to the Burgeo Recreation Commission and, the fundraisers that they have, but this would have been, too much to try and pay off. Almost $500,000 would have been, it couldn't be handled by the town. I don't think that sort of a debt for recreation. I think that the citizens would, if their taxes had to be increased at that level, come up with $500,000 for that, I think there would have been a lot of people that would have been very upset.
Okay, once this funding is put in place, will it remain there should an election be called and a change of government?
Oh yeah, very simply and for sure, because Fogo was approved this year. Fogo got the funding for theirs this year, and bearing in mind that Fogo Island, it wasn't the community of Fogo, but I mean before the last election, that was one of the, or not the last election, the '89 election, when the people are in opposition now were in government. The last couple of days before the election, they went around and they promised arenas to, I think they promised one to Hermitage and they promised one to Fogo, and they promised one to somewhere else. I don't know where it was now, but and all three promises have now been kept, even though the government has changed. And but the difference you see is that you take on Fogo Island, the population was, I don't know, it was around 8,000, I believe, in all the communities there, and it was considered as a regional one. And they had their money, they had their $200,000 in place and in the bank, waiting to put it in with the government's 80%, so it was done. And I think once we get the government to accept the fact that, Burgeo is a peculiar case, that is the first hurdle. That is my, as the MHA, that's the job that I have to do, is to have, make sure that the government itself realizes that Burgeo is a distinct area, and because of the fact that there's nothing else around her, it has to be considered as a regional one. That's my job. I got to convince the government of that. Once that's done, I think it'll be clear sailing.
Okay, Mr. Gilbert, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so, David. Only just to thank you again, and we'll follow up on the the main. We forgot to mention that in this. Funding this year, the provincial funding, even though there was none for recreation, there was $200,000 came in for paving in the town here, which I think will go a long ways to making a lot of the citizens of the town happy that they're going to get on some of their streets paved now, some of them that have been waiting for a while. The community health care facility is now up and running, and it looks like there's 12 or 13 chronic care patients there, and everybody, I think that Burgeo seems to have a lot going for it, and it's I feel that recreation is certainly one of them, but we mustn't forget that the government has put a lot of money into this town down through the last few years, and are still continuing to do it. So we must sure everybody got their priorities straightened up and in the right place. But I can assure you that recreation to me right now is that I have some work to do, and as I said, mine has got to be to get a government policy changed. After that, I think that the mayor and I will be agreeing on what we're saying, because what the mayor is saying is basically what I told him, that hopefully over the next 2 or 3 years we would get this straightened away. I'm hoping sooner rather than later.
Okay, Mr. Gilbert, thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you, David.
Our guest today is MHA for Burgeo Bay Despair, Mr. David Gilbert. This week, as we look back and remember when, we're going to take you back to March 22nd, 1987.
I can see what you're saying. Just as all muck, just you can see we're pushed out and froze.
A couple hours rain on this now.
Struck there.
Hello, my name is Jeanette Warren. Newfoundland and Labrador Audio reminds us to develop good electrical safety practices for our families. Never overload electrical circuits by adding extra plugs to outlets. Unload those bad habits. We have the power to live longer if we just think safety first.
Oh there! Hello, my name is Amanda Amon. My safety message from Newfoundland and Labrador Audio is never ever touch electrical wires either on the ground or in the air. Even broken power lines on the ground may be live. Remember, electrical wires are current killers. Have a safe summer.
Hey, wait a minute. Hello, my name is Christopher Gilbert. My message from Newfoundland and Labrador Radio is be safe. Make sure all extension and appliance cords are not frayed and that their plugs are in good condition. Damaged cords can be a real fire hazard and a current killer. Remember, with teamwork, safety works.
That's it for tonight's program. Please stay tuned now for an episode of Driftwood and Friends. On behalf of everyone here at BBS, have a great week. I'm Dave Cooper. Good night. Give it a little bit of time.